The stars glittered against the inky void above Sylvanus, casting pale light upon the barren terrain. The colony's main settlement, a patchwork of interconnected domes, prefabricated buildings, and mining facilities, sprawled across the dusty landscape. Perched on the observation deck of Command Center Alpha, Commander Irene Lawson gazed at the horizon where 3 moons hung low in the alien sky. Another day in paradise, she murmured to herself, taking a sip from her steaming mug. The bitter liquid, which the colonists optimistically called coffee, served more as a reminder of Earth than an actual pleasure. Like many things on Sylvanus, it was a poor imitation of what they had left behind. 15 years had passed since humanity established this outpost on the far edges of explored space. Rich in rare minerals and strategic metals, Sylvanus had once seemed like a promising venture. Now, it was just another forgotten colony, dutifully sending shipments back to the core worlds while receiving minimal support and protection in return. Lawson's communicator chirped, interrupting her contemplation. "Commander," came the familiar voice of Marcus Hale. "I think you should come down to the engineering bay. There's something you need to see." Moments later, Lawson stood in the cramped engineering bay, staring at a bank of screens displaying data from the early warning system Marcus had been installing for the past month. "I was running final calibrations when I picked this up," Marcus explained, gesturing toward a cluster of signals at the edge of their sensor range. His rugged features, weathered from years of working in Sylvanus's harsh conditions, were tense with concentration. "At first, I thought it was a glitch, but I've verified it through 3 different algorithms. These are ships, Commander. A lot of them." Lawson leaned closer, studying the readings. "Could be a merchant convoy. The Arcturus trade route sometimes brings them close to our sector." Marcus shook his head. "Not merchants. The energy signatures are military grade, and they're moving in a tactical formation." A chill ran down Lawson's spine. How long until they reach Sylvanus? At their current velocity? 3 days, maybe 4. Lawson straightened, her mind racing through scenarios, none of them good. "Send a message to Major Brooks at Central Command. Priority Alpha. And Marcus." "Yes, Commander. I want those defense cannons operational yesterday." Within hours, the colony command staff gathered in the briefing room. The atmosphere was tense as Lawson displayed the sensor readings on the main screen. "Based on movement patterns and energy signatures, we believe this is a Corvin Federation battle group," she explained. "Intelligence suggests they've been expanding aggressively into several frontier sectors." "The Corvins?" Lieutenant Rodriguez, head of colony security, looked skeptical. "We haven't had significant conflict with them in what, 15 years? 17. Corrected Dr. Sarah Lynn, the colony's chief medical officer. "The Orion border dispute. But that was resolved through the Galactic Council's intervention." "Apparently, the peace didn't stick," Lawson replied. "We've had reports of isolated incidents, ships disappearing near their territory, mining operations going dark. Nothing concrete enough for Central Command to take action." "And what does Central Command say about our current situation?" asked Marcus. Lawson's expression hardened. "Major Brooks has informed me that most of our fleet is engaged in the Cygnus sector. They're dealing with multiple priority situations and cannot divert significant forces to our location at this time." The room fell silent, the implications clear. They were on their own. "So what's the plan?" Rodriguez finally asked. "We prepare," Lawson declared firmly. "Marcus, I want every defensive system we have brought online. Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin organizing civilian evacuation protocols. Prioritize children and medical personnel. We'll use the mining shuttles if necessary." "If I may, Commander," interjected Sergeant Foster, "perhaps we should consider negotiation. The Corvins might be willing to accept resource tributes in exchange for leaving our population intact." Lawson fixed him with a steely gaze. "The Corvin Federation doesn't negotiate, Sergeant. They conquer. They exploit. And when they're finished, they leave nothing behind." She turned to address the entire room. "I understand everyone's concerns. This colony, this home we've built, seems small and insignificant in the grand scheme of the galaxy. But it's ours, and I intend to defend it with everything we have." As the meeting adjourned, Marcus lingered behind. "Commander, there's something else you should know," he said once they were alone. "I've been analyzing the composition of that fleet. It's not just a raiding party. It's an invasion force." "Are you certain?" He nodded grimly. "The Corvins aren't coming for our resources. They're coming for Sylvanus itself." In the days that followed, the colony transformed. Mining equipment was repurposed into makeshift barriers. Engineers worked around the clock to bring online the handful of energy cannons that had been gathering dust in storage since the colony's founding. Citizens who had spent their lives as farmers, researchers, and miners now trained with basic weapons, their faces etched with determination and fear. Throughout it all, Lawson maintained a facade of calm confidence. But in the privacy of her quarters, doubt gnawed at her. The truth was stark. Their defenses were primitive compared to the approaching Corvin armada. If Central Command wouldn't send help, Sylvanus would fall. On the evening of the third day, she made her decision. Entering the communications center, she dismissed the on-duty officer with a nod. "This is Commander Irene Lawson of Sylvanus Colony." She spoke into the transmitter, activating the emergency broadcast frequency. "To any human alliance vessels within range, we are facing imminent attack by a Corvin Federation battle group. Our defenses are limited, and Central Command cannot provide timely assistance. I am hereby invoking Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha. I repeat, Emergency Protocol 7 Alpha is now active." The use of this rarely mentioned protocol was a desperate measure. Most colony commanders wouldn't even know it existed. Lawson had only learned of it through a chance conversation with an admiral years ago, a contingency plan for situations exactly like this one. Message sent, "Commander, the communications system confirmed. No immediate responses detected." Lawson hadn't expected any. The protocol was designed to reach specific receivers, not generate acknowledgments. Whether it would actually bring help was another question entirely. "Now we wait," she murmured, gazing at the starfield displayed on the view screen. She didn't have to wait long. The next morning, a Corvin scout vessel entered the system, settling into high orbit above Sylvanus. Its presence was like a predator circling wounded prey, testing for weakness. "They're scanning us," Marcus reported from his station in the command center. "Comprehensive sweep, energy outputs, defenses, population centers." "Let them look," Lawson replied. "They'll find exactly what we want them to see." The strategy was simple. Present themselves as even more vulnerable than they actually were. Hide their few operational defense cannons. Mask the reinforced bunkers they prepared. Make the Corvins overconfident. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was all they had. The scout ship departed after completing its survey, but not before firing a single energy pulse that destroyed the colony's primary communications relay station in orbit. The message was clear: no calling for help. Little did the Corvins know that Lawson's most important message had already been sent. As the fourth day dawned, the colony's sensors detected the main Corvin fleet entering the system. Dozens of warships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels moved into formation around the planet. At their center was a massive dreadnought, its silhouette resembling a predatory sea creature from Earth's oceans. "They're hailing us," announced the communications officer. Lawson straightened her uniform. On screen, the monitor flickered, revealing a Corvin commander. His scaled skin was a deep blue-gray, and elaborate ridges adorned his elongated skull, marks of high rank in their militaristic society. "I am Fleet Commander Vexthal of the Corvin Federation," he announced, his translator rendering his guttural language into stilted English. "Your colony has been claimed for the expansion of our territory. Surrender now, and your population will be permitted to serve the Federation. Resist, and you will be eradicated." Lawson kept her expression neutral. "This is a civilian settlement under the protection of the Human Alliance. We pose no threat to the Corvin Federation. Your alliance has abandoned you," Vexthal replied with what might have been amusement. "Our intelligence is quite thorough, Commander Lawson. We know your defenses are minimal. We know your nearest military support is light years away, engaged in other conflicts. You have been deemed expendable." Lawson felt the eyes of her command staff upon her. Perhaps, she conceded, but I still cannot surrender this colony. Then you have sealed your fate. The transmission ended abruptly. Minutes later, the first bombardment began. Energy weapons from the Corvin fleet lanced down through the atmosphere, striking the outskirts of the settlement. Buildings crumbled, and alert sirens wailed throughout the colony. Get everyone to the shelters, Lawson ordered as the command center shook. Marcus, bring our defense grid online. The few energy cannons they had managed to prepare opened fire, their beams seeming pitifully thin against the massive Corvin vessels. One shot connected with a smaller Corvin ship, causing it to list sideways, trailing atmosphere. We scored a hit on one of their frigates, Marcus reported, surprise evident in his voice. Don't get excited, Lawson replied. They're just testing our capabilities. As if to confirm her assessment, the Corvin fleet intensified its attack. Precision strikes targeted their defense cannons, systematically neutralizing the colony's already limited defenses. For hours, the one-sided battle continued. The colonists huddled in reinforced bunkers beneath the settlement, while their home was systematically demolished above them. In the command center, now relocated to a subterranean facility, Lawson and her staff coordinated what little resistance they could offer. Main power grid is down, reported a technician. Switching to auxiliary systems. Defense cannons 3 and 4 have been destroyed, added another. Marcus approached Lawson, his face streaked with dust and sweat. Commander, we can't hold out much longer. Our last operational cannon is running on reserve power, and our shields are failing. Lawson nodded grimly. I know. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. Refusing to surrender? She met his gaze. Ask me again when this is over, one way or another. Suddenly, the communications officer called out, Commander, I'm detecting new signatures at the edge of the system. Corvin reinforcements? Lawson asked, her heart sinking. No, the officer replied, confusion evident in her voice. They're human alliance signatures. 5. No, 7 warships. Corvette class. Hope flickered briefly in Lawson's chest before reality reasserted itself. 7 corvettes won't make a difference against a fleet that size. But even as she spoke, more signals appeared on the sensor display. New contacts, the officer exclaimed. 15, 20, 30 more ships. Multiple classes, destroyers, cruisers. They're arriving from different vectors. Marcus stared at the readout in disbelief. That's impossible. The nearest Alliance battle group is supposed to be in the Cygnus sector. The sensor display continued to light up with new contacts, the count rising rapidly. 50 ships, then 100, then more. They're hailing us, the communications officer reported, her voice trembling with emotion. On screen, Lawson ordered, hardly daring to believe what was happening. The monitor displayed the bridge of a human Alliance warship. At its center stood a woman in an admiral's uniform, her silver hair cropped short, her bearing unmistakably military. Commander Lawson, she greeted. Admiral Helena Reyes, commanding the 3rd Fleet. I understand you have unwelcome visitors. Lawson struggled to maintain her composure. Admiral, your arrival is unexpected. Emergency protocol 7 Alpha waits for no one, Commander, Reyes replied with a hint of smile. The Corvin Federation has violated sovereign human territory. We're here to correct their misunderstanding. The communications officer interrupted. Commander, the Corvins are hailing us again. Split screen, Lawson ordered. Fleet Commander Vexthal appeared alongside Admiral Reyes. The Corvin commander's composure had visibly faltered, his ridges flushed with a darker blue that betrayed his agitation. This is not your concern, humans, he snarled. This isolated colony was deemed unprotected by your own central command. A common misconception, Admiral Reyes replied coolly. You see, Fleet Commander, the human alliance may seem disorganized, even neglectful of our frontier colonies. That's by design. We want aggressors like you to target what you perceive as our weakest points. More alliance ships continued to materialize on the sensors, emerging from hyperspace in waves. 200, 300. still climbing. What you fail to understand, Reyes continued, is that while we might debate policy, argue over resources, and complain about one another's methods, humanity stands united on one fundamental principle. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. Vexthal's eyes narrowed. Your fleet is substantial, but not insurmountable. The Corvin Federation does not retreat. Look again, Reyes suggested. On the sensor display, the count of Alliance vessels had become almost impossible to track. They emerged from multiple vectors, filling the space around Sylvanus in a three-dimensional web of military might. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and countless smaller vessels, some bearing the formal insignia of the Alliance Navy, others with the distinctive modifications of colonial defense forces, and still others that appear to be repurposed civilian ships bristling with hastily mounted weapons. This isn't just the Third Fleet, Reyes explained. When Protocol 7 Alpha is activated, every human vessel within range responds. Military, civilian, colonial defense. That transmission reached mining colonies in the Arcturus Belt, research stations in the Vega sector, merchant convoys, private security forces, and yes, our main battle fleets. For the first time, genuine alarm crossed Vexthal's alien features. Impossible. Your forces are committed elsewhere. Our intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see, Reyes finished for him. Those multiple priority situations in the Cygnus sector, a training exercise designed to appear as engagement to foreign observers. The Alliance ships began to move, forming a containment formation around the Corvin fleet. Now, Fleet Commander, Reyes continued, her voice hardening, you have a choice. You can withdraw immediately from human territory and inform your superiors that Sylvanus, indeed, all human colonies, are not the easy targets they believed. Or you can test exactly how committed we are to protecting our people. The tension stretched for several long moments. Then, without another word, the Corvin commander terminated the transmission. They're powering weapons, Marcus reported, watching the sensor readings. Admiral Reyes's expression remained calm. So be it. What followed could hardly be called a battle. The Alliance forces moved with coordinated precision, targeting the Corvin vessels with overwhelming firepower. The dreadnought at the center of the Corvin formation attempted to rally a counterattack, but found itself surrounded by dozens of Alliance cruisers. Smaller Corvin ships began breaking formation, attempting to retreat. They're running, Marcus observed, a note of wonder in his voice. Let them go, Admiral Reyes ordered over the still open channel. They'll carry the message better than any transmission we could send. The Corvin dreadnought, however, continued to fight. Its massive weapon struck several Alliance vessels, causing significant damage. In response, a coordinated barrage from multiple Alliance capital ships converged on the Corvin flagship. Its shields collapsed under the onslaught, and secondary explosions bloomed along its hull. The dreadnought is launching escape pods, reported an Alliance officer from Reyes's bridge. Ensure safe passage for all non-combatants, the Admiral ordered. But capture Vexthal if possible. Within hours, the battle, such as it was, had ended. The remnants of the Corvin fleet retreated in disarray, jumping to hyperspace as soon as they cleared the gravity well of Sylvanus. The dreadnought, crippled beyond recovery, drifted lifeless in orbit, its commander captured by Alliance Marines. On the surface, the colonists emerged from their shelters to find Alliance shuttles landing throughout the settlement. Medical teams, engineers, and security forces disembarked, immediately beginning the work of treating the injured and assessing the damage. Lawson stood amid the rubble of what had been the colony's main plaza, watching as Alliance personnel coordinated with colonists to establish field hospitals and distribute supplies. Marcus approached, looking exhausted but relieved. I never thought I'd see anything like this, he admitted, gesturing to the Alliance ships visible in the sky above. Half the colony thought we were abandoned out here. I wasn't entirely convinced otherwise myself, Lawson confessed. A shuttle landed nearby, and Admiral Reyes descended the ramp, accompanied by several staff officers. Despite the chaos around them, she moved with purposeful calm, stopping to speak with injured colonists and Alliance personnel alike before making her way to Lawson. "Commander," she greeted, extending her hand. "Your colony held out admirably." Lawson accepted the handshake. "We had limited options, Admiral, but I never expected this." She gestured to the massive fleet still visible on sensor displays. "How many ships responded to the protocol?" "At last count, over 5,000, and more are still arriving." Marcus, overhearing, looked stunned. 5,000? The entire Alliance Navy doesn't have that many vessels. "The Alliance Navy, no," Reyes agreed. "But humanity? When every colony contributes whatever ships they can spare. When private ventures and independent operators answer the call. We still don't have an accurate count." She turned to survey the damaged settlement. Protocol 7 Alpha has existed since the early days of colonial expansion, Commander Lawson. It's been activated only 3 times in our history. Most colony leaders aren't even briefed on its existence. "Then how did you know to invoke it?" Marcus asked Lawson. She smiled faintly. "A retired admiral mentioned it at a diplomatic function years ago. He said it was humanity's best-kept secret, our ultimate insurance policy. I never thought I'd need to use it." "The Corvins certainly weren't expecting it," Reyes noted. "According to the intelligence we've gathered from Commander Vexthal, they've been testing our defenses for months, probing for weaknesses. They concluded that frontier colonies like Sylvanus were perfect targets, valuable resources with minimal protection." "What happens now?" Lawson asked. "Now, we rebuild Sylvanus stronger than before. We establish a permanent defense outpost here, and we send a message to every potential aggressor in the galaxy." The following day, Admiral Reyes addressed not only the colony, but the entire galactic community. The transmission was broadcast on all frequencies, relayed by the vast network of Alliance ships still assembled around Sylvanus. "Let this serve as a declaration and a warning," she stated, her image transmitted across light years to numerous worlds. "The human alliance may appear decentralized. Our colonies may seem distant from one another and from our core worlds. But make no mistake, we are united. An attack on the smallest, most remote human settlement will be met with the full force of humanity's response." The visual feed shifted to show the Alliance fleet surrounding Sylvanus. Thousands of vessels of all sizes and configurations, their hulls bearing the marks of dozens of different colonial affiliations, private enterprises, and military divisions. The sheer number was staggering, filling the screen with points of light too numerous to count. To the Corvin Federation and any others who might consider similar actions, this is not the full extent of our capability. This is merely what we could assemble on short notice. Consider carefully before you test our resolve again. In the weeks that followed, Sylvanus underwent a transformation. Alliance Engineering Corps helped rebuild the damaged structures, incorporating advanced defensive systems. A small but well-equipped military garrison was established, and a defensive orbital platform began construction. Throughout the colony, a new sense of confidence replaced the former isolation. Citizens who had once felt forgotten by the Alliance now worked alongside military personnel and engineers from dozens of worlds. Standing on the newly reconstructed observation deck, Lawson gazed at the activity below. Marcus joined her, carrying 2 mugs of the colony's infamous coffee. 3 new agricultural domes completed today, he reported, handing her one of the mugs. And the upgraded power grid is running at 110% efficiency. Dr. Lin says the new medical facility is better equipped than anything she had access to before. Lawson took a sip from her mug, wincing slightly at the familiar bitter taste. Some things, it seemed, would never improve. "Have you heard the latest from Central Command?" Marcus asked. "The Corvins have withdrawn from 3 other border regions," she confirmed, "and they've agreed to formal peace negotiations through the Galactic Council. Apparently, our demonstration made quite an impression." Marcus leaned against the railing. "Do you think they'll be back? Not to Sylvanus, but somewhere, eventually? Probably. Expansionist empires rarely change their nature completely. And when they do," Lawson smiled, looking up at the stars where a dozen Alliance vessels still maintained their vigilant orbit. "We'll be ready. All of us, together." As if to emphasize her point, a transmission alert sounded from her communicator. It was a routine update from a patrol ship, one of many that now regularly checked in with the colony they had once never known existed. Somewhere in the vastness of space, the scattered remnants of the Corvin fleet limped home, carrying with them a lesson learned at great cost. Appearances can be deceiving. What had seemed like an isolated, vulnerable colony was in fact the trigger for an unprecedented mobilization, a demonstration of unity and strength that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. They had thought it was just a colony. They had been wrong.